So he's calling it. Let's open up this. Reacting to Moira main, and the Moira with the drool coming out of her mouth is, I guess, supposed to represent me. Yeah, not really cool. Title is responding to hot takes from Moira mains. Why Moira is overpowered #2. Okay, well, I understand the clickbait, so I can't really fault him for wanting to do clickbait, but I feel like there might have been better ways to go about doing that. I know it's the Moira meme, but for some people, it's kind of hard to discern what that is representing. So, unless, the thing is, when you're trying to make a point, it doesn't always matter what your intentions of that of what you're saying are. It matters how you say it, because people will take what you say into consideration, not really caring what your intentions were sometimes. So even though I understand that he probably does respect me as a person, it's still not cool. I'm just stalling.
A welcome improvement.
Thanks, Queen, for the 2 months. Thanks so much. I think this is a good setup then. Requires no skill and is RNG, yet you never explain your reasoning during this video. If you think your points are self-evident, I don't see why you don't just explain yourself.
One.
You fucked up. No, 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 no!
Okay, so what he did here is he highlighted where I said that he didn't explain why Damage Orb was a skillless ability, and then he proceeds to show a clip of himself getting killed by Damage Orb in a small room with almost no health. This is what we would call anecdotal argument, and it's a logical fallacy, using personal experience or an isolated example instead of a valid argument. Anyway. 50 DPS. It's not that hard to play around. I don't think I've ever heard a serious complaint about Damage Orb from a high-ranked player.
And he seems like a nice guy, which is good. He seems like somebody who's actually gonna have like a fair conversation. So I'm absolutely willing to have it. He seems like a respectable dude, so. Well, this is a response to my video, so whatever, we're gonna put it on here. Okay.
I have played Moira since she was released. The main reasons I chose to main her is that I really like her lore and character design. She is a super— Sorry, there's some background sounds going on. Prickly support and is often underestimated. This video is not meant to bash Samito for coming after my favorite healer. I just want to clear up some misinformation. Many of Samito's points seem to be coming from an emotional response rather than a logical one.
Okay. First of all, a lot of respect to Tesla for sitting down and making a video and actually like being really nice and professional about that at the start. Like, that's a lost art that many people don't have, so actually mad props.
I really appreciate that.
Mad props to Tesla for. And you know what? It's perfectly—
Yeah, this is why Samito, in my opinion, he's a cool guy. I just think that he does some things to appease his audience that I don't agree with. But, yeah, he clearly understands the process of this and that this is being handled much better than it could have been. So I definitely respect Samito for acknowledging that. It's really cool.
Really fair. Like, I think a lot of people don't understand this, but my points about Moira is like, I don't think the hero doesn't belong in the game, right? Like, I think that Moira and Brig and Mercy as characters bring like a unique playstyle to a first-person shooter that you wouldn't be able to find anywhere else, and they do belong in the game. It's just how the abilities like function is the main issue that I have.
Also, you touch— Okay. I think I've already seen the video, not this video, but because he's edited it a little bit, but he goes on to the point that I didn't really address his main question. Well, I guess we'll talk about that later. And the idea that Moira doesn't require mechanical skill. I will say that Moiras without good mechanics will never make it past Diamond. While she can still provide value without having perfect mechanics, Moira's effectiveness is greatly improved with good aim. I will touch on this throughout the video.
Okay. So for one, me being in plat, like for this video, the reason why it was on a plat account or like an unranked gym account is just because it was the easiest way for me to do this video. I wanted to do the video sometime within the series, but
was that the easiest way to do the video? I mean, if you say so, I'll take your word for it. But I don't understand how that helps your point. Anyway.
The point of my video was about the mechanics and the requirements of her kit. It doesn't matter what rank, like, or you know, skill rating that player is.
It does.
My issues were with the fundamental design of the kit, and that's what I brought up. It doesn't matter if it's a top 500 in plat or a bronze in top 500. At the end of the day, we're looking at it from a...
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't agree with that. I'm just gonna say that.
Neutral standpoint, as if ranked, like no rank is involved. It's just the bare bones, bare bone abilities on the kit. That was the main point that I made.
You see that? So when you're playing a character that you don't play a lot in a rank that's lower than your own, much lower than your own, you're gonna do things on that character subconsciously that the players in that rank would not do. Like, if I were to pick up a character I never play, like Baptiste, I have like no hours on Baptiste. If I were to play Bap in like gold or plat, I could probably carry as a DPS Baptiste. And wait, I'm gonna close Overwatch because it's making hog sounds and that's kind of grossing me out. Anyway, hopefully this loads back up. There it goes. Yeah, just it's not a conscious decision to just purely demonstrate an ability. You have to literally try and play like a plat, which you were not doing, I don't think. Damage Orb does not fit a support's kit, has no skill, and is pretty much all RNG. Have you considered that supports need damage abilities to be able to balance out their kit and provide utility beyond healing?
No, okay, yes I have, okay? Yes I have. Each support has something that they're unique for, right? And they all have a drawback to their kit. For example, if a support's gonna have a lot of damage, take Zen, okay? What is the drop off to Zen's kit for having damage and long range healing? It's that he's very vulnerable. He's very diveable, right? There's a distinct drop off to each of these kits. I'm not saying support should be useless against damage.
Well, Moira does have a drop off. She literally doesn't have any other utility than healing and damage. So, given that she's in a meta where that is very strong, I think it's unfair to... Well, I didn't really let him finish his point.
Damage heroes. I never said that once. That's a misconception that I don't think you came to, but many other people do, okay? The thing is with Moira, why you can't say that, is that she is a heal bot. That's what her character is designed to be, right? Yep. She's supposed to be a healer that can put out a ton of healing while having a ton of mobility, sustain, and escapability, okay?
Okay.
Moira cannot have, okay, not even just Moira. No character in that category should be able to do all three things, damage, sustain, and heal, right? While I consider like escapability to be a part of sustain, all on one kit. That's not balanced. Moira...
Well, I mean, you have to just remember that she doesn't have the utility of other heroes, of their supports. Zen, Discord, Mercy, Rez, Ana has Nade, Baptiste has Immortality Field, Briggs has tons of CC. Moira doesn't have any of that. So in order to provide value that would be gotten from those other abilities that she doesn't have, she has to do a lot of damage. And this idea that supports aren't supposed to do damage, it doesn't really hold its ground in Overwatch. Yes, we have support categories and damage categories and tank categories, but I would say that pretty much all heroes, I mean, some heroes literally can't heal, but they can switch between those roles sometimes, either by providing utility, like let's say Ash Coach Gun. You could pretty much say that Ash Coach Gun and Brig Whipshot can provide similar utility in certain situations. Would you consider Ash a support? No. But she can support her team with her abilities. Moira just doesn't have this stuff, so she has to support her team through tons of damage, which makes up for not having these other abilities.
Fade is a 6-second cooldown. Moira's utility comes from her ability to enable brawl comps, sustain and massively heal them at the same time. The fact that she has the damage orb is too much for a kit that already is really, really easy compared to her other counterparts. In order for a support character to be able to do damage, they need to have other drop-offs. Moira has none in comparison to the other categories or the other kits in her category. And it's not even comparable, it's not even close.
You claim so her damage is her utility. You can't really say this about any other support. Maybe Zenyatta, but I don't think we're all gonna say that people play like Jonak all the time. There just isn't really any other support that can rack up damage like Moira, and this is because Moira is designed to be able to put out those types of numbers. Granted, remember that the damage she puts out is not burst damage. It's really not. It's not gonna kill you in a second. This damage is supposed to support her team to get kills. It does that really effectively, and for good reason. Another thing to note about Moira's character design is she is made to be very ambiguous. There's a really cool video about this. You guys should look it up. I don't know if it's posted, but it's awesome, about Moira's character design. She heals and damages. She's like... I absolutely love that about her kit, because it's just so... You want to balance it, you want to... I don't know, it's just such a cool idea. Sort of like Zen with his Discord and Harmony orbs. Having a support that does damage is reasonable. It's what makes Moira... It's what makes Moira fun for me. Being able to frag out. Like... yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
That damage orb requires no skill and is RNG, yet you never explain your reasoning during this video. If you think your points are self-evident, I don't see why you don't just explain yourself.
Do I have to explain this? Like, look at this!
Yeah.
You fucked up. She's dead! Do I have to explain this ability taking no skill? No, that explains itself. She's dead.
Okay, so you killed the Moira. You had, I mean, disregarding the fact that this is anecdotal evidence, which is a logical fallacy. You were at 100 health after you killed the Moira, and you're in a small room, and the health pack has already been taken. I don't think this situation is going to happen very often. I'm going to be honest. Let's just see.
Bounces off 20 walls. The player had absolutely no influence on this. This is a ridiculously stupid ability. The player was dead. The player got outplayed, but since the ability is so easy to use and not aim intensive and all luck based, it still rewarded that player with an elimination on me as a support. This is self-justified. Like, I shouldn't even have to bring this up. You're a Moira player. You know how many lucky bullshit kills you get from orbs.
Yeah, it happens from time to time, but it's really not that common. And I wouldn't say it's game-changing. Like, let's look at I'm gonna try and analyze what's actually going on in this fight. So you have, is that 2 on the point or 1? You're on defense, and yeah, you're on defense. You're completely separated from your team, 1v1ing a Moira. I don't think that's your job, but I don't know how you got in this situation anyway, so I'm not gonna say anything about that. Your healers can't get to you at all. This doesn't really look like an optimal situation to be in, I'm gonna be honest. This seems like it might have been your fault. Like, I don't know what to tell you here. this is once again, it's one situation that you've already brought up 2 times. I don't see this as evidence that Damage Orb is a skillless ability.
Right? You can't tell me that you've never blindly thrown orbs. Like, this happens consistently every game. A random ass Moira orb will be flying around where, you know, where the Moira is like across the map and it'll kill you. It's for this exact reason that Scatter got removed from the game, aside from its burst, right? Because
no, it was pretty much the burst. I don't think anyone was really complaining about Scatter's utility in terms of cleaning up kills. The most annoying thing about Scatter was when you shot it at the ground and it one-shot a 400 HP tank. I think that's why everyone wanted it removed. I don't think anyone had a problem with the way that you could finish off a kill with Scatter, which was its intended use. Blizzard didn't anticipate people shooting Scatter at the ground. That was not why they put that ability in the game. So it's really not comparable to Scatter Arrow at all.
here's the thing. Like, if they really wanted to keep Scatter in the game, they could have just nerfed the burst damage, right? But
yeah.
Instead it got removed because so many people were dying to bullshit Scatter arrows, which I agree with. Like, that version of Scatter was stupid, but there's no need to justify, like, there is no justifying this ability. No. Anyway, whatever.
My experience in top 500, orbs must be precisely aimed and thought out in order to get maximum effectiveness. When throwing an orb, I have a primary reason for the orb, but I also think about how the orb will continue to provide use if it is not depleted with its initial use.
That's fair. That's right.
Why did
I
he shake
agree
his head?
100%. Like, you do have to think about where this orb is going to go. That being said, compared to other abilities in the support category, what's required of you to do that is simply a thought. Zero mechanics. In my opinion, Moira's kit will be fine if this damage orb gets reworked or removed. Maybe just have it give her more healing instead of doing damage. But the fact that it charges her ult so quickly as well. Like, I'm not saying Moira should be nerfed to the ground, but that damage orb doesn't fit her kit and it's not healthy for the game.
Orbs are also great tools.
Well, oh yeah, I'm not paying attention to chat right now. I mean, should I? I guess I could. But yeah, mods, if you see anything coming up, then you can definitely do stuff about that. Yeah, if you have like a question or something, you can at me and I'll see it. Otherwise, yeah, I'm probably not going to be reading too much chat. So his point here is that Orb is a skillless ability because it doesn't require mechanical skill. I don't really think that's relevant in terms of skill. There's so many abilities in this game that you could say that don't really require that much aim. Like, what? With the Ryan Firestrike, you just lob it into... That's one ability. I mean, you can be used skillfully, sure. So, like, take out rip tires and all that. But another use is just firing it down towards the enemy team. Yeah, you have to aim it a little bit, but not much different than Damage Orb. Thanks, Dotune, for the Twitch Prime. I really appreciate it. It's like, if his only argument is that it doesn't require mechanical skill, and then his clip before where it just bounces around a small room to kill him, that's not a strong argument. So first you have the anecdote, and then this next one, I would... I'm thinking. So he's saying that because wait, why did I get a text? Hold on. Never mind. Sorry, distracted. He's saying that it doesn't have mechanical... I'm just gonna move on. I'm sure he mentions it more in the video.
To ward off some ultimates, and I often save them in anticipation of enemy abilities. These small things may seem trivial, but this is what separates good Moiras from mediocre ones.
No, that's 100% true. That's 100% true, but that has nothing to do with whether or not these abilities are healthy for the game and they should be on Moira's kit. You're absolutely right. You have to use your abilities properly to get value, and there definitely is, like, the Moiras at the highest level play, like, know how to use these orbs 100%. But my problem is not with that. My problem is with the orbs themselves, not players' ability to use them.
Herald does.
Okay, so you have a problem with Damage Orb as an ability. I don't know what to say other than there's plenty of abilities in this game that might seem unfair, and they are very much in the game. I personally don't think Damage Orb is an unfair ability, or whatever you want to call it. Skillless, like, it does 50 DPS, and if you're anywhere near any sort of healing, you're gonna not die from that. It's like, I don't know. I feel like there's other abilities in the game that you could complain about. Damage Orb is not a big threat. I don't understand why Damage Orb is so important, to be honest. It was never really an issue before. You're saying it gets easy ult charge. It doesn't get that much ult charge. It gets like 8% ult charge maximum. Maybe 9, because there's actually a bug with Damage Orb. I wouldn't say it's a bug, but it's like, if you throw a Damage Orb into a large group of enemies, this is kind of a little off topic. It will, the way tick damage works, it will get off more ticks when it's attached to more enemies, doing more than 200 damage. And in those situations, you can get slightly more than 8%, maybe 9% ult charge, but this is really irrelevant. It doesn't farm ult that fast, and Moira needs that ult charge when her team isn't taking tons of damage. Like, how else is she gonna get ult charge for her ultimate? She can heal, but her utility comes from that damage.
Oh my.
It's really important. Thanks for the follow.
Charge fast, but it is not unsimilar from Ana's ult or other DPS ults in terms of charge rate.
Whoa!
Just don't scream at me. Hold on.
Similar from Ana's ult or other DPS ults in terms of charge rate.
Whoa! 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 Hold the phone. Hold the phone. Moira's Coalescence is the fastest charging ultimate in this game.
Wait, I'm just gonna.
As a Moira player should know this. Moira's Coalescence has been, and especially in this meta, even more so, one of the fastest charging, the fastest charging ultimate in the game.
A lot of time for the
So okay, let's look at this clip, okay? 12% making the first rotation. Their team has not even made it through. Their DPS are in, their tanks aren't even there, okay? 12%.
Their enemy Orisa has 11%, their enemy Sigma has 12%. Okay. Yeah, 12% is acceptable. The Lucio has 10. I don't understand the logic here.
Let's look at this. We'll see.
A lot of time for the shot. You're really looking
And granted, this is Moira at her max potential, to be fair.
at best, depending on how they go.
But
had like multiple false starts on their attack, trying to get
he's at 60%. It's been like 10 seconds. 70%, 80%, 90%.
perfect for the shot.
He used it.
Do you see how much damage is being pumped into SF Shock while Violet's charging that ult? Like, that damage potential, I mean, the damage being pumped into SF Shock right now would almost never happen in a ranked game. That coordination required to get that much damage done on their team like that is very rare in even top 500, to be honest. Yes, Moira ult is very fast charging. Does it charge in 20 seconds most of the time? Absolutely not. I typically get ults 40 to 50 seconds. That's probably an average, I would assume. That's me guessing though. From my experience, it's usually like 40 to 50 seconds to an ult.
That he got that ultimate in 18 seconds. 18 seconds.
Once again, this is called anecdotal evidence, using an isolated example instead of a valid argument. You did it with the damage orb and you're doing it again with ult charge. This is a very specific situation. It's not going to happen a lot. Yeah, there's quite a lot of these, aren't there?
Ana can do nothing comparable to this. Okay? Ana cannot do anything comparable to this. Now, to be
No, because she sucks in this meta. Of course she couldn't.
fair, yes, this is Overwatch League. This is Overwatch League. Like, that's absolutely.
And that's not entirely true. When there were metas with Ana in them, she could pull her ult extremely quickly by pumping heals into the tanks sitting in front. like really fast ultimates. I will say that when I'm competing with Ana on ult charge, we typically get our ults around the same time with really good Anas. Like, it's really not that different.
Absolutely fair, but the point still stands. It's not even close.
While it is a good idea to throw orbs to the side of Sigma, in most cases, getting Sigma to use his kinetic grasp early in a fight with an orb is a—
Okay, I will point out that during this video, it's not only about what Samito is saying, I also provide some more tips for his playstyle, because I thought that that would be helpful for people watching the video who want to learn more about Moira and not just me rant about Samito complaining about Moira's kit.
a really good trade-off.
So he might call it irrelevant from time to time, but I'm just going to kind of ignore that.
I sometimes try and bait it, so if a Reaper is looking for a good Death Blossom, he'll be able to get it off.
Okay, that's a fair point. However, that doesn't address the fact that the damage orb is still a silly ability. Like, you're talking about actual usages of the ability, which I agree with you on. Like, if you force the Sigma ult, that's a good play with the ult. Like, there's no doubt you know how to use the kit. But again, my issue is not with people knowing how to use the kit. My issue is with the kit itself, which you haven't mentioned. You might mention it later in the video, but you have not mentioned a single point about the actual kit being stupid. Damage orb,
What does that mean?
as an ability, should not exist on Moira the way it is right now. Nothing.
Once again, the only things that you've brought up to discount or to prove that damage orb shouldn't exist are anecdotal evidence, which doesn't hold a very strong argument. Like, I really don't think that the things you brought up happen very often, as someone who plays Moira for a living.
Nothing about that has been addressed. Just throw orbs in their general.
A few things here. No, you also healed a bit for that ult charge. You
That's
seem
fair.
astounded at the fact that you already have 30% ult in 23 seconds into the game. This is not uncommon for many heroes in this game. Getting ult charge from spamming slightly aimed shots down long sightlines is also not uncommon.
Okay, but here's the thing, okay? I've gotten this ult charge with literally zero mechanics at all, none. Like, this is essentially free value, and that's the problem, okay? And
What? How is Moira spamming orbs down a long sightline free value, but like Junkrat spamming or any other character spamming their damage abilities down to sightline not the same thing? I don't understand this.
And that's why I think if Damage Orb gets removed or reworked, Moira's kit will be fine. I don't want her nerfed any more than that because then she won't be viable at all. Okay? The way I got the ult charge is fundamentally different. Damage, and you're comparing damage heroes to support heroes as well, which is two fundamentally different things.
No. Damage heroes and support heroes can offer very similar roles. They can. The thing I love about Moira is the fact that she can be a tank and a DPS when she's not needed as a support. I play her in both of those roles. And one of the big things with trying to learn Moira and play her effectively is knowing when to swap between those roles. And that's really fun for me. So saying that supports need to stay in their lane, I'm just gonna have to disagree with you on that.
Support should get their ults mostly from healing, aside from
No. I mean, if they don't need to heal, why should they get their ults just from healing? Zenyatta gets a ton of ult charge from healing, but he also gets a ton of ult charge from damage. Like, there's things going on here. Lucio can boot people off the map. If you don't consider, like, if Lucio gets two people booped off the map, he gets a ton of ult charge. There's tons of other supports that get ult charge off damage. And I'm sort of straying from the argument that damage orb is the main focus here, but the idea that supports aren't supposed to get ult charge from damage is not correct.
from a couple exceptions like Zenyatta, whose utility is his damage, right?
Oh my.
But the drop
You just said that Zenyatta's utility is his damage, yet you don't make that connection with Moira. Well, maybe you will.
off to that damage is that the fact that he's very diveable.
Oh, right,
okay?
you did this before. So you say that it's okay for Zen to have the damage as utility because he's easy to kill if he gets dove. I don't know. I feel like this is just a personal opinion. Like, I disagree. I think Moira can be good at damage and be good at getting out of sticky situations, because her damage is it's consistent. You're never gonna get burst down by a Moira unless she's nanoed or something. Like, it's very predictable. It's not like Zen where you can charge shots around corners and one shot like a tank if you wanted to.
Moira is not like that. She has all this utility and all these things that she can get value from, all of them very bare minimum mechanics, which is the problem. It's not the issue that I'm getting this ult quickly, okay? It's the way that I got it. It's the kit carrying the player, not the player's mechanics bringing out the latent ability in the abilities. I hate to see, abilities in the abilities, lol, but that's the issue.
You mentioned that.
So you're saying that because you think that Moira's kit doesn't require a lot of really good aim and mechanics, that the ult charge is undeserved. Yet you're still claiming that healers should get a majority of their ult charge from healing, which objectively is one of the easiest mechanical skills in the game, is to heal. Every single healer in this game heals super easily. It's really easy to provide heals. Okay, so I got some comments on my video when I talked about Ana being easy to heal with. She is easy to heal with. Like, this, I think people misunderstood that when I said that Ana didn't require mechanical skill to heal with. But compared to Moira, like, it's really not that different. If you want to heal someone at long range with Moira, you have to lead them with your healing. That isn't always really easy because you have to predict their movement. And Moira's healing range is 15 meters, so sometimes you actually have to use some thinking in order to heal some people. With Ana, if you want to heal people at long range, it's going to be more difficult because you have to be more precise with aiming. Same with Moira. When you're healing someone right next to you, it's going to be kind of easy with both heroes.
Nothing you have done here required mechanics, yet you are 70% to an ultimate. This could be said about any main healer in the game. Every main healer in this game does not require intense mechanical skill to heal with. Mercy, Ana, and Baptiste are all very easy to rack up heals with.
Ana is literally a shooter character. You have to aim to heal. You have to aim. That is what mechanics literally are by definition in a first-person shooter game. You have to aim. Dude, you're smarter than this. This is gibberish. This means you don't even know what mechanics are. If this is what you think, I'm sorry to put you on blast. I promise you, I'm not trying to do so. But okay. You have no idea what you're talking. You don't even know what mechanics are. Like, mechanics are hitting the skill shots. That's what they are by definition. To say that other main healers don't require mechanics when they all require aim and good positioning and cooldown management, with their cooldowns being twice as long as Moira's, generally speaking, right? Like, they are literally twice as demanding to do the same.
Remember that you're playing at...
Okay. So first of all, you're saying Ana is a shooter. She has mechanics. So because Ana has a gun, does that mean that she has mechanics while Moira doesn't really have a gun, so she doesn't have mechanics? Is that the logic here? I don't get it. I don't... Do you even play Ana? Like, I don't really play Ana, but I know that Ana is easy to heal with. She's not easy to damage with because you have to be a lot more precise, but healing... Healers are made to be easier to heal with because Overwatch attracts people of all backgrounds. Maybe some people with disabilities don't want to pick up a super aim-intensive character, but they really like the character design and the lore. They want to play that character. Overwatch has made this super available, and that's awesome.
Oh my.
To be honest. Like, that's kind of off topic, but Ana is not this mechanic god. You don't need to be like this mechanical god to heal with Ana. Another thing, what was it? You said I didn't understand what mechanical skill was as a way to devalue my argument. So this is what we call strawman. misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. You are picking out one aspect of my argument and putting it kind of on a poster and saying, this guy's wrong, look at this fact. That's not what I said. That's really not what I said. You can't just like attack me for one specific thing like that and completely devalue my argument. It doesn't work like that.
At a skill.
Like, they are literally twice as demanding to do the same.
Remember that you're playing at a skill rating almost 2,000 SR below your own. Not to mention, you are not even on fire at the end of this team fight. You did not contribute to this team fight as much as you think you did.
Like, dude, okay, on fire time has nothing to do with this. See, here's the thing. This whole time, you have not once addressed the point, my main point, which is that Moira's kit is too easy while being too good, specifically because of the damage orb. Okay.
Well, you didn't really say that before, but I'll address it later.
Moira's kit is too easy while being too good, specifically because of the damage orb, okay? This is what the Moira players are going to do, chat. They're going to beat around the bush, and they're never going to head-on answer the question, do you think Moira is too good while requiring very little? These abilities do the work for the player. Period, end of story, okay? Like, you can go on about me being in plat or diamond, wherever, I think this was like low diamond, whatever. You can go on about how I performed in the fights, but the one thing they refuse to address is the bare-bone nature of Moira's kit, which was the entire point of this video. I guarantee you right now, it will not be addressed once this whole time. My gameplay will be critiqued, my decision-making will be critiqued, how I actually use the abilities, not whether or not the abilities are too good for being too easy. And in the next fight, I'm...
Okay, so once again, this is the same. I will address it. You're asking me, do I think that Moira gets too much value from her abilities, which to you are objectively too easy? Too easy to get value from? No. No, I do not. I don't really think I have to explain myself too much on that, but I think while Moira's skill floor is low, you can get value from just spamming abilities. That's a really boring way to play Moira, and I would never play her like that. So if you choose to play her like that, then yeah, you're playing her in a very skillless manner. But that's not how I view her as a character. So, and the value that you get from playing Moira as a mindless healer damage character is nothing compared to what you could be getting, and I don't think people are going to climb if they play her like that. So I don't think it's a good argument. It's like, let me see if I can compare it to something like another healer or something. Here, Hanzo. Let's give a good example. So I know I've played some Hanzo. I'm not a Hanzo player, but I know that one strategy that sometimes works is you can spam arrows at head level around corners all the time and you'll get picks. Or Junkrat. You'll just spam rocket, well, whatever they're called, grenades into the air. They have them land down on the enemy team and you'll just get a random pick. Would you say the same about those abilities? Or is it just Moira? Like, a lot of characters in this game have this aspect of spam being really easy to get value from sometimes. No, that's not all the time. Can you spam with Moira every single second of the game and get value? No, you can't. Some abilities will completely negate your ability to do anything. Like when I played Moira during Diva meta, which was the entire existence of Overwatch. Just until this last meta, Diva always existed, and my spam damage could get denied at any instant. It's just this meta that Diva's gone away, and Sigma might choose not to eat your orb if you throw it at him. So, I wouldn't say that her abilities are so easy, as you're saying. Like, they require a lot of thinking. It's not super mechanically intense, but it's not skillless. Anyway.
Already started charging my ult again, because their Sigma's never eating my stuff, right?
Well, yes, that is how ult charge works. You got some spam damage in on the players trying to regroup and are now at 30% to your next ultimate. Nothing out of the ordinary.
What's out of the ordinary and the problem is that I've just thrown a damage orb in their general vicinity. I don't actually have to hit them in the head. I don't actually have to, you know, like, hit my skill shots to get value. I throw the orb, it goes through shields, and as long as they are within a certain radius of that orb, my aim could have been off. But as long as they are in a certain radius of that orb, it will continuously do damage, so I get the max ult charge.
I explained this before.
It's too forgiving of an ability. I didn't do anything that should justify me getting that ult charge. All I did was look in their general direction and hurl that sucker. Sam, your criticism is irrelevant as you're not on fire. Not wrong, chat.
It's interesting he chose to highlight that point about... So, I was talking about him before where he has cut this video up. This is not the full video. This is definitely not the full video, but there was a point, a team fight, where he used his ultimate to clean up some kills after his DPS already killed 4 people. And I made a comment that, well, he made a comment that, look at this is how broken Moira is. And I'm just like, well, you didn't really do as much as you think you did in terms of damage. And then they added to that, and to prove it, you're not on fire, and that might be a good indicator that you probably didn't do a lot of damage. One thing with Moira is her on fire feedback is pretty accurate, unlike other supports, where if you use abilities to move around, like if you have a Brig who whip shots someone into a bad position, you're not necessarily going to get on fire, but you could be providing an insane utility to your team. With Moira, it's just healing and damage. So if you're doing, the game will recognize that insane healing and damage as providing value and push up your on fire rate. Different than other characters who have abilities that don't do damage yet still provide utility. So I do feel it's relevant, and once again, this is a straw man where you're pointing to a specific aspect of my argument to try and disprove it.
I actually agree with some of the stuff you're saying here. Moira is very good in a 2-2-2 environment. She'll always have tanks to heal up in order to get ult charge really fast, and her ult is very hard to deal with against supports other than Moira. This meta was indeed a buff to Moira.
And to be fair, the reason why Moira got much better is Coalescence is much better against 2 supports rather than 3. So in the Goat's Mirror, like if the Brig and the Lucio both had their healing up, like the Cole wouldn't actually do anything, right?
Yep.
But if one of those heroes were dead, then the Cole could get value, which is why you only saw Moira running Goats against triple DPS comps with Pharmacy, because then she could get her ult really fast and then call the Pharmacy out of the sky. That was the win condition for Goats with Moira Goats, like on Koth maps that you would see a lot in Overwatch League. Let's keep going. I can't tell if this is like my YouTuber.
Right. That's a good point. Against Goats, I would almost, if Brig had Rally, using Coalescence would pretty much just be throwing my ult away. That was the most annoying thing about Goats meta. Anyway, yeah.
Like video.
That is mostly because you're playing super passive for a top 500 DPS player. You are playing in plat, so you do not have to provide the same value that a Moira in top 500 has to provide. You are sailing through this game on your general game sense that you apply to Moira.
My power grows.
Oh my god. Thanks, Atomicus. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope your stream went well. Thank you so much.
Oh my.
Thank you so much. Oh, we don't have a shower command, do we? Thanks for the follows and follow Indecisive Sheep. Okay, I'm gonna get back into this.
Of course, Moira will seem sailing through this game on your general game sense that you applied to Moira. Of course, Moira will seem brainless when you literally don't have to think about decision making because you are playing at a lower rank. Also, if you were to try and stretch your mechanics to the limit, you would see your value to these fights greatly increase. One thing I have noticed is that you switch targets way too much when you are using DPS. Staying on one target will secure solo kills rather than what is going on here. During this team fight, your DPS and tanks are contributing a lot to the wins. It's foolish to ignore this.
Game. Yeah, no, absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I hate to sound like a broken record.
Oh my.
First of all, I appreciate the Moira tips. But again, the point of this video is about Moira being too easy for too much value compared to other heroes in her category. This is not being addressed once.
Yeah. So I guess I've covered a lot of what you've been responding to already. I think it covers a little bit about what you're saying here, that that you think Moira is too easy for the values that she gets. Yeah, I think I've already talked about this with my previous points, but yeah.
Not once, dude.
While it may seem that you are not applying mechanical skill here, you are a skilled player who already has good aim. From what I have seen so far, you are using aim I would not expect from a plat support player.
Like, is Ana or any other character? Look at this, my crosshair is not even fucking on her, bro.
Oh my.
Okay, so yeah, your crosshair isn't on her, but look at your positioning. I would not expect this positioning from a lower ranked player, I'm gonna be honest. From what I've seen in doing several Bronze to GM Moira videos, I don't see Moira as being this aggressive. You just do this subconsciously. And that's awesome, because you can carry your team by doing this, getting some picks before the next fight starts. But you're literally in front of every single teammate. A lot of Moiras in lower ranks are not confident enough to pull this off. But even though they can do it, they don't. So despite the fact that you don't have to lock on to the Mercy, this still required a lot of game sense that you are not accounting for.
Editor, zoom in on this shit. It's literally not on her. Any other character misses this, but because I threw my orb, which, by the way, I threw from fucking back here, play it back. I threw that orb like seconds ago, and I still kill her. I've done nothing of value. I've already farmed almost another assets. That takes no just skill. Spamming my abilities. None. How does that go through Moira players' heads? I don't get it. How do you not see that that's the problem people have with your kid? And
it's not that hard to get value from other kits without perfect aim. It really isn't. Like, you don't have to have decent aim all the time. Okay, so Overwatch is one of those weird FPS games where it's not really based around aim. It's really not. The majority of the skill that you have to learn in Overwatch to become a good player is game sense, decision making. Not aim. It's really not aim. There's some DPS players out there in GM who don't have perfect aim. They really don't. Yet they maintain GM because they're so smart that they can outplay other heroes in the game just by existing. They know exactly where to stand. They know how to bait abilities to win team fights. This obsession around aim, I don't understand it. I think it doesn't... Overwatch is a different game than what you're traditionally used to with FPS games. This has been known for a while.
I'm on fire now, Moira players, so my opinion matters. Take that.
Here we go again. Starman, going back to one thing I mentioned as a tack on to a criticism I had to his argument. He's calling me out for saying that because he's not on fire, he wasn't doing a lot, and now he's on fire, so he's like, oh, I must be doing a lot. Whatever. Just attack me on that one thing. It's a logical fallacy, so I'm not even gonna really... Okay, whatever.
Once again, this is a really poor example of why Moira is busted. I almost have my ultimate because I was just spamming my abilities. What other heroes could you say this about?
None! Literally none! Because...
Doomfist. Rocket Punch. Like the ASMR there?
Other freaking characters require mechanical skill to get the latent power out of the abilities on that kit.
So you do realize that Doomfist wasn't he nerfed where he has to have a higher aim requirement for his rocket punch? I think that was a thing, right? Where people were complaining so much about his rocket punch being no aim that they actually nerfed it. I'm right about this, right? Chat? Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm right. No one's responding.
But with Moira, simply using the skill gives you all the value. You don't have to have skill to get latent ability out of an ability in a game that is ability reliant and ultimate reliant.
So you think that skill is only aim? Is that what you're implying? I don't want to misrepresent what you're saying here, but from what I've heard throughout this entire video, It seems that you think mechanical skill is paramount and that characters should be balanced around having good mechanical skill will get you farther in the game. And that has never been how Overwatch has existed.
Ultimates have been nerfed so much from release because they're so powerful and impactful.
Like, okay, you can have insane aim and carry from that insane aim. But that's typically not how people climb. That's really, like, any low rated players who want to look to climb, don't focus on aim too much, unless you're really bad. But, like, if you have okay aim, you can climb regardless of that. You just have to get better game sense.
It's a snowball effect, starting with the damage orb. You consistently use an ability on a 9-second cooldown that will automatically get you 9 to 10% of your ult charge if you throw it into a team most of the time. And even if it misses, it bounces back. That is inherently overpowered. In order for an ability to be overpowered, you have to weigh the amount of skill it requires to get value from it to its effectiveness, okay?
So it's you're saying it's overpowered. I've already been over this, actually.
Moira requires nothing from this ability and gets max value. That is poor balance. And
Okay, here we go again. Black or white, where two alternative states are presented as the only possibilities when in fact more possibilities exist. Wait, can you guys see this? Should I, like... Yeah, here, on the bottom left. So, he's pretty much saying that Moira is all the way at the bottom. Actually, that's not quite what his argument represents, but it's really borderline. Like, he's pretty much saying that because Moira is all no aim, she shouldn't get all the value, and it's really not like that. Like, you can it's an exaggeration. It's an exaggeration because Moira's kit does require aim. If you can't aim, you're not gonna be able to do anything on Moira. Like, I mean, I'm talking about really low aim requirements, but it still requires some skill. It requires you to predict enemy movement. There's just I don't know. This isn't a good argument.
overpowered and it needs to be reworked or removed. You can't just blind spam on other characters consistently and say, oh, well, since Moira does it, other characters do it too, so therefore it's fine. Like,
no one's really complained about it before. Like, I remember, how many times do people get pissed off when they get killed by a random Junkrat thing, but they just accept it as the character design? Personally, I don't mind it too much. It's just, it's Junkrat's wacky personality. He just gets these random kills. It's kind of funny sometimes. With Moira Orb, you can see it coming. If you wear headphones, you can hear it coming from a mile away. There's a voice line that Moira says when she sends it out, so you know it's coming. Like, I don't see your argument here.
I can't think of another character in the game that can do what this ability does. None of them do. The only thing that was close to that was Scatter. And even Scatter was less forgiving than that when you were blind spamming it down corridors. Old Scatter was stupid, so before people were like, oh my god, he's okay with Scatter and not this. No, old Scatter was pretty stupid. They cheat the system, essentially.
He kind of... Never mind, yeah. What was he saying? I kind of missed that.
And even Scatter was less forgiving than that when you were blind spamming it down corridors. Old Scatter was stupid, so before people were like, oh my god, he's okay with Scatter and not this. No, old Scatter was pretty stupid. They cheat the system, essentially.
Okay.
Like, what I'm doing right now is literally cheating the system, so I just get free value. I'm not fragging out, I'm not doing anything mechanically demanding, I'm just existing and using my abilities.
It might seem like that to you, but there are plenty of Moiras who are hard stuck at their rank, wherever that may be. You are once again playing in Plat, so your game sense and decision making do not require much effort to sustain.
There are plenty of Moiras who are hard stuck in Plat, but again, like, you refuse to address any of my points. So maybe you don't refuse, but maybe it just goes over your head, I'm not sure, okay? My point is that, again, in this statement, players are climbing and cheating the system because these abilities are doing the work for them. It doesn't matter if 50% of Moiras are still hard stuck in Plat. If 50% of the other Moiras climb for free, that is the problem.
But they don't. I really don't think they do. No, in this meta, we do have a lot of people who have never played Moira before pick up Moira. And maybe they're better at Moira than they thought they were, so they're gonna climb. yes, Moira is really good in this meta, so if you play Moira and someone else on the other team does not play Moira, you have a greater chance of winning. That's how metas work. Saying that it's because of the kit is false, because Moira has existed for a very long time, 2 or 3 years now. 2 years, whatever. And people didn't climb from her abilities. They didn't. I know this for a fact. When I first played Moira, I was a hard stuck master for a full season before I really understood how to play her better. It's not the kit, it's the meta. I think I'm proving this with the fact that Moira's existed for a really long time and not been overpowered.
That is the problem. It's not that people, like, it doesn't matter that other people are hard stuck. It's like old Mercy res, right? Like, it honestly is the same. You have, like, you literally would just go in and res, and it didn't require any mechanics, and because you just sat there and used your ability, you had major impact on the fight. Then all these Mercy players are all of a sudden top 500, and guess where a lot of them are now? Like, she's not freaking free value in, like, Masters or Diamond even. And nothing against those Mercy players, I'm not trying to flame. I think Mercy nowadays is definitely a tough character to play. So I have a lot of respect for high-level Mercy players. You have to have really good movement, and you have to be really smart about where you're playing and game sense. It's required with how our kit is designed now. I want the same thing to happen to Moira.
You claim that you are...
Okay. Let me remember what you said there. So, you're saying that Moira is in a similar position to Mercy when she had a broken res ability? Are you talking, I think you're talking about when it was Mercy meta and she had her double res thing, right? I would imagine. Anyway, that's kind of irrelevant. God, I had a point I was thinking about. Hold on. Yeah, so you're saying that people are getting boosted by using Moira's easy kit, and that once it gets fixed or whatever, they're gonna fall right back down to where they belong. So, I am gonna use an anecdote, so don't come after me, but because I know what I'm doing. But I've been consistently high rank season 9. That was the second season I played Moira. Season 9 through the current season on Moira. 4,300 plus. I reached that pretty much every single season, except for the seasons I didn't play because I was in China. Like, her abilities have never carried her before. It's just the meta. That's what I'm trying to get at. I don't think her abilities are broken.
rewarded for you.
So I don't think I'm gonna drop that much rank when this nerf goes through. I honestly don't, because I can adapt and play around it. It's not a huge nerf. Obviously, I think that you want more nerfs. You want damage orb removed. I just don't think that's necessary, because what made Mercy overpowered was purely Mercy. You could play other characters in Mercy meta and they would work. That's not really the case with this meta right now. If you don't pick those 6 characters right now in this meta, you're kind of throwing. That was not the case with Mercy meta. There was Widows. You could play whatever you wanted. I mean, not whatever you wanted, but you could pretty much play anything else. This meta is extremely restrictive. And this is, I'm only talking about high GM top 500 in this context. Because in any other rank, you're not going to get the meta being played.
Using abilities rather than skillfully using them, and that Moira does too much damage in combination with her duty of main healer. After watching this round, I will say that those damage numbers are not even close to what you could have been providing given your relative skill compared to these players.
Exactly!
I post similar numbers in GM that you get in Plat. The higher you climb, the more difficult it is to pull off crazy plays like this. Of course, you didn't have to take into account every single ability usage in this game. You also bring up again that Moira has a lack of required mechanical skill to be effective. This could be said for a lot of heroes in the game, but let's ignore that for a second. Not once did I see any animation cancels or optimizations in damage or healing this game. You just coasted along with your team. I really only saw one aggressive coalescence. Your Moira playstyle is super passive. This is why you think she's brainless, because you choose to play her in a brainless manner. You are not using her to her potential, so it would make sense that you feel underwhelmed by the experience. You also have a fairly competent team that is providing consistent DPS and good tanking.
Oh my god, he just doesn't get it, chat. Okay, I don't think Moira is inherently brainless, okay? It's like when people call Brig brainless, okay? And I had to play Brig professionally for 6 months, okay? Right? What people said was brainless about Brig, and what you're not understanding is that it wasn't that Brig's character was inherently brainless. Of course it's harder at the highest level play. Of course there's better things I can do on Moira. The point is that her ability is brainless, okay? Brig was brainless because you got value from just sitting there and not actually doing anything, right? If you were tanking and you simply hit one button and you got one flail off, you were getting immense value and having a lot of shutdown potential. The part of Moira that's brainless, that I say is brainless, is her damage orb and her ability to farm her ult and get consistent damage off pre-fight, okay? It doesn't require a brain. It's too forgiving while being super easy and still being very effective.
50 DPS.
I feel like I'm being lectured, not in a good way. Anyway, so let me recap. That's a lot of stuff. So you're saying that Moira is really easy to play. You're pretty much just trying to get down the fact that playing Moira is super easy, and it shouldn't be this easy, because you get tons of value for having to just stand there and do nothing like old Brig. I actually think that Moira in this meta is really boring to play. In this meta. And the important thing about that is that a lot of people are having to pick up Moira this meta because she's never been played before outside of GOATs. And she was boring to she wasn't really that fun to play in GOATs either. Like, the thing I love about playing Moira, or loved about playing Moira in other situations, was adapting to enemy team comps. I was a Moira one trick. I didn't swap off when she wasn't considered optimal because I liked the challenge. I was like, I know this character so well, I'm gonna make this work. And while my teammates hated me for it, I had a lot of fun. And this meta is forcing me to not have that experience. So I actually agree that this meta is making Moira dull down a bit. I don't like that. I don't like that. And the unfortunate thing about this is that people who want to pick her up are going to say that she's really easy. And yeah, this meta is making her seem that way. But of course you can do more. You can always optimize certain stuff. But I just found her way more engaging in other metas. So I'm sort of agreeing and disagreeing. Because it's situational, I feel.
It's not that hard to play around. I don't think I've ever heard a serious complaint about damage orb from a high-ranked player.
This guy lives in Bikini Bottom. Are you freaking kidding me? You've never heard a complaint about damage orb? Everybody complains about damage orb. Everybody does. Literally every single player that's not a Moira main complains about damage orb.
So I'm not even gonna go to the list, but that's probably logical fallacy. Just like, yeah. So you've heard. Oh, it's actually anecdotal. It's an anecdotal thing. So you've heard that people complain about damage orb. Complain. What I claimed was also anecdotal. That I didn't hear that anyone was complaining about damage orb in high rank. The truth is, like, if you take a look at the ability, it's really not that hard to play around. Despite the fact that you may believe it doesn't take a lot of skill to execute, it's not an extremely impactful ability, and you can play around it super easily. Just sidestep or something, I don't know. It creates space. Like, it's also used to just create a little bit of space sometimes. It's not that hard to play around. It's not this overpowered ability. Oh, this is what I was going to talk about when he talked about Mercy. Damage Orb does not compare to Mercy's double res at all. Like, it's not that impactful of an ability. It does 200 damage, and it's almost never used on a single target to drain them of their 200 HP. I mean, you don't usually want to throw it into a large group of people if you're trying to look for a kill, but you're usually going after maybe one or two players with it, at least in my experience, trying to use it more effectively. Yeah. Bikini bottom trip win. That'd be kind of fun. I don't mind that actually.
All of them.
The global ult charge nerf was really not that big of a change.
Global ult charge nerf wasn't that big of a change? What? Are you kidding me? It might not seem like it, but here's why, okay? Characters that are reliant on their ult, right? It takes a long time to build up those ultimates. It's not easy to do, right? For example, Genji. Genji has lost all of his 1v1 potential based off characters like Moira being added, Brig being added, like Doomfist being added, etc, etc. He can't duel people anymore. His shurikens are weak, and even if they do hit...
Yeah, he's not meta. That's... Unless you're Necros and you can pull off pretty much whatever you want to do, you're probably not going to do a lot. This is another thing to bring back about how I loved playing Moira when she wasn't meta. I mean, Genji's always been sort of meta, so I wouldn't really complain about that. But being able to play a hero when they're not really desired to be played and getting value from that,
A
it's a
welcome
skill
improvement.
that not many people have
Samito
with
is a dumb
heroes.
Limao. Good luck making him understand anything.
Thanks Propaganda for that Twitch Prime in the 4 months. Yeah,
Oh
so
my.
if you're complaining about Genji, that like I'm sure there's some Genji players that still enjoy playing this game despite the fact that it's really revolved around the meta. Some people are just so good at their characters that they can make it work. This is kind of off topic, but that's what I enjoy about Moira. I feel like I'm really good at her, and I really enjoy getting those outplays on people who just don't expect it from Moira. Anyway.
If they're like, you're like poking somebody, like you're shooting him with a Nerf gun, like it's not gonna do damage, right? The only thing he's good for is his ultimate, okay? If the charge rate and time it takes to get that ultimate is increased, even so slightly, that's 1 or 2 team fights, longer time if you're doing a set amount of damage. Say you're doing like, I don't know, 1k damage in a fight, and you have to get 6k damage to get your ult. This is just completely out of my ass, by the way, so don't take it for, don't take it literally. A 12% increase means that if you die early in a fight or anything like that, like you're gonna get inherently less value from your hero, okay? Making picks like that much riskier. So if Moira, for example, a hero that gets her ult quickly while like just spamming abilities, it'll make her pick rate way safer and way more consistent, right? So to say the ult charge rate wasn't that big of a deal, you just don't understand Overwatch. Or at least at the highest level of play. I guarantee you any pro will tell you that's an impactful change. And it's not like, oh my god, this is gonna completely turn the meta upside on its head, but it solidifies this meta.
Lack an understanding.
I still don't think it's as impactful as you think it is, and saying I don't understand Overwatch? Okay, sure, man. Whatever you want to say to make yourself feel better, I suppose. But the global ult charge nerf, it affected Moira too. Of course, her ult charges fast anyway. But as we saw in the beginning of this video, I'm not going to go back, I want to save this time, whatever. You got killed really early on in the fight, and you didn't get your ult until like a minute in. I don't know, it was like a little more than a minute into the game. So it kind of proves your point when you said that if you get picked off early, you're not going to provide as much value in terms of ultimate. That same thing happened to you earlier in this video.
My.
Where you got picked and you didn't get Moira ult until the fight was pretty much over already. Your team kind of carried you, I would say. I hate to say it. But the ult charge nerf affected everyone.
Of Moira's hero design. She's supposed to be able to ward off flankers and hold her own in duels. If you are dueling a Moira 1v1, you already messed up.
If you're dueling a Moira one-on-one, you already messed up.
Don't blame the character's design for your bad choices.
Dude, no, you did not just say that. You didn't. You
I
did
did.
not just say that.
I really
no.
did.
I need a second. She's a support that has mobility and burst healing. Her drop off is that she shouldn't be able to do a ton of easy damage, which this damage orb enables, okay? That's literally like saying, oh, if you're, like old Brig was fine because if you're a flanker or like a DPS and you're trying to 1v1 a Brig who was a support, you've already lost that fight and you shouldn't be doing that. Don't blame the hero design for that. That's your poor choice. That's ridiculous. It's poor design. You just never address the fact that this ability takes no skill and it gives too much value. It's just, you never even acknowledge it. So, we'll move on.
Okay, so you said that with Damage Orb and Biotic Grasp, I'm just inferring this, with Damage Orb and Biotic Grasp, Moira has burst damage potential. Excuse me? Okay, Moira only has burst damage potential if she saves an orb for a single target. A single target can only a single target will take this burst damage that still takes 2 seconds to take down a 200 HP hero. That's not what burst damage is. 100 DPS I would not consider burst damage. If you have an Ana pocketing you, you are not going to get burst down. If you have a Mercy pocketing you, you are not going to get burst down by this ability. That's not burst damage. So pretty much, if you're stuck in a room with a Moira, you kind of deserve to die there. Like, except if you're a tank. Like, if you're a big tank and you have tons of HP, the Moira's probably not going to go after you. The example that you brought up before, where you were at 100 health right after fighting a Moira and she just threw an orb. Okay, you deserve to die there. Like, what are you doing with such low health fighting a Moira? How did she even get that much damage off of you in the first place? That's 400 HP that I don't think was done all by that Moira. I think you were already low, maybe went for the health pack, and then the Moira was there. You even managed to kill her, yet she got the damage orb off. It's just not... I don't see the logic behind saying that it shouldn't exist.
11%. I get like 11% on a like 6 or 7 second cooldown just by looking in their direction and doing that.
Nice exaggeration. The actual numbers are 8 to 9% ult charge on a 10-second cooldown.
Oh man, dude, it's not, no. Oh, nice exaggeration, dude. It's not 12%, it's 10. Your point
It's 8 to 9.
is completely invalid and it makes no difference at all. Like, okay, you know what, dude? Sure, it only gives 10%, not 12, dude. That's really a difference maker, yeah. Instead of 10 or 12% free value that requires absolutely no skill at all, it's 10%. Nice exaggeration. You're not on fire. Your point's invalid.
Much of the
That's awfully hostile. I don't think I deserve that at all. Yeah, okay, cool. You didn't really make a point there except just kind of be mad at me for no reason. Like, I actually just disproved what you said, and then you got all angry at it and be like, oh, you're pointing out facts. I'm just gonna be upset about this. Like, what? That's just immature. Sorry.
damage you're providing is trash damage to build up your ult. You could be securing way more kills had you been playing more aggressively. All because a Moira has high damage does not mean she is playing optimally.
That's true. That's true, but to say the damage is useless is just not right. It's farming my ult. It's putting pressure on them. It's negating their healing constantly.
That's not really what I was saying. I was saying that you could have been doing a lot more with the damage. Yes, you were doing stuff with the damage. Of course, if you're spamming orbs, you're going to get ult charge. That's getting value, but it's not getting optimal value. It's getting value. Sure.
Like, even if I just, like, barely negate a small amount of healing every fight, that's really, really strong, and it'll help my...
Not really. I've gotten some games where I did like 27k damage in 19 minutes, if I remember correctly. This was on Havana. Of course, here's an anecdote, but we lost that game. I had like 22k heals and 27k damage. We lost. So clearly, despite having an insane amount of damage done on Moira, you don't necessarily win fights with that. That's not super impactful. Like, you are claiming that Damage Orb is this super impactful ability that doesn't require skill, but it's really not that of an impactful ability. It assists DPS get kills, it assists Moira getting kills. That's what it's used for. You'd never want to use it just to gain ult charge. You want to use it to get kills and get ult charge. Like, it's a tool. It's not like a one-shot ability.
Oh my.
Thanks for the follows, guys. I'm missing all
My
this.
DPS a ton. And if it farms my ult incredibly fast, to say that it's not like valuable is just inaccurate. Obviously, like I could play better. Like I agree with you. Like I'm not that great of a Moira. But the point of this video is that
Oh
Moira is
my.
too easy for being too good. Not that I'm like some insane Moira trying to show that she's like super broken or something. It's not like you're critiquing my Moira play, which I guess thank you for that. But again, like the point just goes right over your head of this video.
Personally, I would not be opposed to tightening the aim requirement on Moira's weapon and giving it more potency. Perhaps the closer the center of the beam is to the enemy, the more damage it does.
Or, like every other beam in the game, in order to do the damage at all, you should actually have to have your crosshair on the player.
So, my issue with this, the reason I said that it still does damage when it's not, I don't know. I'm not really recommending any Moira changes right now, but what I was saying was like, if you were to have the aim requirement be increased, you would still have to let her get her healing resource back with a large radius. You couldn't decrease that. Otherwise, it would be really difficult to get healing resource back for low-rated players, and that would be unacceptable. Like that radius has to stay the same. So my suggestion would be to have the center of the beam. If that's on the player, that would do more damage, and it would be sort of dropped off until it hits the edge of the radius. So that was my idea.
Just thought. You know, just throwing it out there. By the way, chat, that's the first time he actually addressed any of my points, and he agreed with me that it wouldn't be bad for a rework. It'd probably be better for the game. Monkey's
Not really a rework, just like tightening some aim requirements. It wouldn't be the end of the world. That's what I'm saying. Actually, the main reason I'm saying that is because Moira gets so much hate for her lack of aim, and if she was fixed a little bit so that she had to aim more, then people wouldn't, what am I saying? People wouldn't be on Moira so much about, oh no aim, brainless character. That's the only reason I really would want a rework slightly. It's just so people stop giving me crap for it.
very
Well,
different.
you are spamming your abilities down a long sight line, just like everyone else on your team.
Yes, everyone else on my team is spamming down long sight lines, okay? The only one that has an AoE ability is Sigma, okay? Which I think should be nerfed personally. I think that's what makes these kits so strong, which it did get nerfed. Actually, it did get nerfed. But what I'm doing doesn't require aim or anything. I just throw it at this wall and it bounces off and I get the value. It's not comparable to what my teammates are doing. What they're doing requires much more skill than what I'm doing.
Unless you are super precise.
Wait, are you talking about Sigma's, like, hyperspheres having an area of effectability? Because those don't have a cooldown, so it kind of makes sense to nerf them. Moira's orb is on a 10-second cooldown. During that 10 seconds, the enemy could completely push onto your team. Like, you only get 1 or 2 chances. And we're looking at Blizzard World, which has an incredibly long sightline for attackers to advance on. Usually I can optimize damage orb placement on defense, so I get like 2 or 3 damage orbs to get absorbed by the time the enemy even gets to the point. This point is a really good example for you to be talking about spam damage, but in most situations Moira will only get like 1 orb before the fight starts, and then you probably should be using a healing orb for the initiation. So, I don't know.
With an orb, it will most likely be lost after 1 or 2 bounces.
He throws it fucking outside. He literally throws
Hold on,
Likely be
it requires much more skill than what I'm
Go
doing.
back a little bit.
Unless you are super precise with an orb, it will most likely be lost after 1 or 2 bounces.
He throws it fucking outside. He literally throws it through the doorway and it bounces back and kills me. That's, it's precision.
Well, the enemy has also not decided to push forward, and you have not decided to apply pressure, so there's nothing to do.
Why? Okay, first of all, we could debate game sense all day. That's not the point. It's not the freaking point, okay? Why would I even apply pressure when they're not even pushing in? They're just sitting there, and I'm spamming without aiming at anything, and I've already got another coalescence.
You could take a more aggressive angle and force the retreat, but you choose to sit there passively spamming orbs.
Yes, why would I force the retreat when they're not pushing? The pressure's on them. They're attacking. If I...
Are you seriously asking that question? Because as a DPS player, you should know that when an enemy is retreating, you don't give them that space. If they're retreating, you take that space. And if no one else on your team is willing to do it, then be the one to make that change. And with Moira, she can survive a bit more than most DPS when going after the chase like that. Encourage your team to be a little more aggressive. If you take risks now and then, it's going to pay off. You can't just play safe all the time. Like, even though they're backing off, get more time on the bank. Just be more aggressive. There's literally no reason not to do that if you can play smart.
I push in and die, it's a thrown fight. It's not worth the risk. Your damage orb is sprained in, and it doesn't require any
If you actually
skill.
played the hero, I don't think you would have called it a wraith.
Like, what is the point of any of these comments? You have no points at all. You're just critiquing my play. Like, so I guess thank you, but like, they just beat around the bush. They never address it.
So back to a straw man here. So he's pretty much, he said that I only addressed, so by addressing the fact that he called it a wraith instead of a fade means that I'm picking out things that don't matter, and he devalues my argument, my entire argument, by pointing to this one thing I say. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's incorrect. You can't just do that.
Ever. It doesn't require any mechanics at all. I guess, but Moira shouldn't be the one doing that.
Better mechanics on Moira provide more value in damage and healing. This is not debatable.
Yeah, true. The better you are mechanically, the more damage you do. That's true for any character. Yeah, man.
Well, you've been saying this entire time that Moira doesn't require mechanical skill, and now you just said that. Now you agreed with me in saying that having better mechanics will make you a better Moira. So I acknowledge that you think that some of her abilities don't require that mechanical skill to pull off, but I've talked about this before in my response today. Just like having better mechanics, yeah. You already agree with me. I'm not going to push this point.
See, this Mercy kill took a decent amount of tracking. Now try it against the top 500 Mercy who actually knows evasive movement techniques.
Yeah, she'd still die. For what?
Well, she'd still die because you have really good aim. Like, tracking a Mercy with Coalescence, probably one of the more aim-intensive parts of Moira is her ult. Because if you waste even a moment of her ultimate not damaging something, they're going to get healed back up. You're going to lose that value. So if you're trying to track down a Mercy who's Valking, they're self-healing regardless of whether or not they're taking damage. So if you miss just a moment of that ult, they're probably going to end up living. This is one of the things I'm actually most proud of usually when I pull that off. I've gotten some pretty toxic Mercies on the enemy team and just like flame me, just like, you use your entire ult on me, how dare you? Just like, sorry.
One, my problem with Moira isn't her coalescence, it's her damage orb. So yeah, you actually do have to track a Mercy.
Okay, so your only problem with Moira is her damage orb. Is that what you're saying? And maybe her bad grasp.
It did require a lot of mechanical skill. You have to have good tracking, and it's an ultimate. It's very different from a random orb that you just have to right click at walls.
So what are you trying to say here? Are you trying to say that Moira's entire kit is broken, or just damage orb? Because at this point I'm hearing two things.
To get value from. That right there is my problem.
Well, you're just cleaning up kills at this point. I don't think this is mechanically demanding of any character.
I'm just honestly, Chad, the better player.
Yes, you are the better player. You are a top 500 DPS playing in plat.
He's right, he's right. Oh my goodness. I couldn't put up numbers like that on any other character while those characters are more difficult to play. I'm
I
curious
think
what
you
else
could carry harder on any DPS. You could have provided much
Okay, but we're not talking about DPS, we're talking about supports. We're talking about Moira compared to other supports in her category.
more value from
Well, we're also talking about a meta right now that when Sigma's being played favors Moira a lot. Moira and Sigma go together very well. And the whole other part of that meta as well. Just like, yeah, Moira is really good in this meta. Borderline OP. Maybe she is OP in this meta, but in general, for the last 2 years before this meta existed, she was not OP. She was not even close to that. So the moment that Moira is just the moment that what am I trying to say? The moment that Moira gets her light, like she's meta, people are complaining everywhere. Oh no, skillless heroes meta. You have to complain about it in the forums, and what are we gonna do? We have to nerf her to the ground, remove damage orb. Kind of weird suggestions. I don't know. I don't like that. Just it's the meta. You can't blame the hero for the meta. Yes, you can adjust the hero because of the meta, but coming after Moira as a character is I don't like that.
from being more aggressive.
This is faulty game design and a fault in the meta that needs to be patched
Fault in
out
the meta, yeah.
to maintain balance in the game and fair play in the game.
Overarching conclusive statement that doesn't really mean anything.
How does that not mean anything? How is having a
Yeah, I do sort of take that back because he did say the meta. I forgot about that.
character that requires no mechanics to get value from be meta not mean anything? It breaks the system. It breaks.
Well, the thing is about the meta, Moira doesn't define the meta. I think double shield is what defines the meta. Moira is just really good, happens to be really good against double shield and with double shield.
Breaks the system. If you allow players to like jump the learning curve because the abilities do the work for the player the same way Old Mercy did, it breaks the system. And the tank and SR.
I don't. It's not the same as Old Mercy because Old Mercy defined the meta. Old Mercy was the reason that it was called Moth meta. It's not called Moira meta. It's called Double Shield. Double Shield meta.
Oh my.
You can't say that Moira defines the meta just like what am I saying? Moira defines the meta just like Mercy. She doesn't.
That a lot of Mercy players had directly after the nerfs prove that. It absolutely means something. Because players are able to bypass skill because the character is overtuned. That's a problem with the meta and the game design, and it needs to be patched. Is that it?
I hope
I mean, it's being worked on.
you guys enjoyed my critique of Samito's video. Please do not take this video as an excuse to harass him. I will not tolerate any harassment.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, I don't want you all harassing Tesla. For one, it takes a lot of courage to
How's it going, chat? Seen a couple timeouts and wait, time's out, okay. Hopefully, y'all are being chill.
actually come out and make a video like that.
Oh
so
my.
mad respect.
Hold on, I'm gonna
I will not tolerate any
back.
harassment.
Thanks for the
Yeah,
follows.
and by the way, guys, I don't want you all harassing Tesla. For one, it takes a lot of courage to actually come out and make a video like that, so mad
Thank
respect
you.
for that. Two, it was a healthy discussion. Sure, we have disagreements on our points, 100%, but I respect like that somebody would actually like try to make a video and make the effort, chat. If you all harass somebody for making the effort and doing the right thing,
Oh
then you're the
my.
problem. So don't, if I see you all like
Okay.
harassing this person, I'm gonna get pissed off.
I really appreciate what he's saying here. Like he really understands. He's been doing content creation for a really long time. I just said really like 3 times, but yeah, like that feels really good as a new content creator to hear that kind of feedback. Just it's really awesome. I don't think Samito's a bad person. I really don't. Samito is just he has opinions that he wants to put out there to his fan base to get views. I'm sure he believes them. I don't want to devalue his opinions at all, but yeah, like what he's saying here, it's wholesome. I like it.
Like, that's messed up. Don't do it. It's one thing to have like heated debate back and forth like about a take. That's all fun and banter in my opinion, but actually going after somebody as a person when they're making the effort to make content is fucked up, and I expect you guys to be more mature and not to do that, because that's messed up. And honestly, as a creator, I've been on the receiving end of that many times, and I expect more out of you guys, so please don't do that. However, if he's open to having discussion with you guys about his takes and you want to do it respectfully, by all means go ahead and do that. In conclusion, Tesla, you missed all of my points in the videos. You didn't address a single one of
I hope I covered them in this response.
the points that I made. I appreciate the critique about the Moira play, but it's just very off topic and it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually change anything that I said. My point was that Moira, her damage orb in particular, gives too much value while requiring no mechanics, and that is what's making this kit so overwhelming and makes it like so mechanically forgiving. Okay, this ability needs to get removed or reworked entirely. Okay, saying the things that you said in this video, saying, first of all, to say that Ana, like Moira is the same level of mechanics as Ana and other main supports, is just simply inaccurate.
Well, that's not what I said. I guess to rephrase, I said that in terms of healing teammates, Ana and Moira are really not that different with the mechanical skill needed. That's it. I mean, yeah, you could just spam your heals everywhere with Moira and you might hit someone, but if you're actually trying to play the game correctly, it's really not that different.
It's not even close to as accurate, okay? Moira's value and the skill in Moira comes from your ability to use your mechanics or your abilities mid-fight and heal a ton. That's like what her kit is designed to do. And the damage orb is just so overwhelming as an ability to quickly farm ultimates, and it doesn't require anything out of the player. To say that the damage orb requires any mechanics, it's just not accurate. It's ridiculous.
Well, what's the relevance of damage orb requiring mechanics? Like, why does I've been over this in the video already in my response. Sorry, just like breathe in the microphone. But damage orb requiring tons of mechanics is irrelevant. I think I've talked about this before. That's all I'll say.
It's no skill, 90% RNG, 10% aim it. Okay, it's way too lopsided of a ratio. If I were Blizzard, I think I would either personally, I don't think it should be in the game at all. Two, rework it to maybe just have it like charge her healing and change the way her healing charges over time. I think that might be better, and just have it be something that you spam just to get more healing back. Moira should be a heal bot,
No.
and then maybe they could revert the nerf they did to her, like her grasp or whatever, if she doesn't have the damage orb anymore, because I don't think that's the proper way to go for her kit. I think she should still be viable in deathball comps and being able to heal tanky compositions and high sustain characters like Reaper and May. That's what she should be designed to be good in, but her damage is just ridiculous right now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. So thank you for the video. I appreciate it, but you didn't address any of my points.
Yeah, I don't think the damage is an issue. It's her utility. Moira doesn't have any utility. Just like don't forget about that. If you take away her damage, then literally she'll only have healing. She's gonna be even more boring to play than she is in this meta right now. Like I said she is not as fun to play in this meta as previous metas. I like the challenge. I don't like just playing this hero because she's really good in this meta, and that's about it. Like, I want to play her because I enjoy playing her.
Oh my.
Not because of meta. Thanks for the follow. Yeah.
One time you did address my point. You kind of agreed that it could be reworked into something better, and the rest of it was kind of just critiquing my Moira play with some hot takes about, how much skill Moira.
I don't like this phrase, hot takes. I feel like it's always used against me. Whatever.
So appreciate it, but I don't know what I expected. I should not have expected anything more than that, but
You should not have expected anything more than that. It's kind of insulting, considering I spent about an entire day working on that video. But okay.
all right, let's go.
And you're just responding to it in your stream, which is partly the reason I'm not making a dedicated video with an entire script about this. I just wanted to do a quick response on my stream. I don't think this turned out to be a quick response. I think this is probably going to be a really long video, but Yeah, that's why I'm just doing a regular stream instead of responding in a coordinated video.
I'm done with it for now.
Okay, well, I'm breathing on the mic again. You put it over here. I hope you guys found something informative if you're new to the stream, and I'll probably be posting this on YouTube. If you guys have any questions now, I will probably be able to read them, unless they go by super quickly. I'm gonna go ahead and get some water. I will be right back.